everybody, this is Eli, and today I'm going to be making a trebuchet. So today we're going to be making the pouch and ropes, main arm, frame, and sled. Let's get started. So I just started by drawing the frame shape that I wanted. I wanted a main center pole and then two other poles that were going to have a 45-degree angles off of the center pole to give it support. So I just kind of did this sketch. As you can see, it's kind of like two triangles. And then I took these pieces of oak that were about 1.5 inches thick, and they're about, I would say, probably 36 inches long. Then I just measured on one of them two beams that were going to be 12 inches long, and these are going to be the two main arms. So just cut those on the miter saw. Now I have two beams that are 12 inches long by 1.5 inches wide. Then I just took the other piece of oak that I had and I just cut a 45-degree angle on one side, measured it 12 inches, and cut another 45-degree angle the other way on the other side. And I made 4 of those. So now you can see I have 2 of them, and now those are the 2 first ones, and now those are the 2 other ones. So now I just have 4 pieces that are 12 inches long with 2 45s on each side, then 2 main beams that are just a piece of oak. Then I took this other piece of oak that was 6.5 inches wide, and then I just started lining up the main beam and the supports on it to measure how long I needed to cut this board. So I just marked where the end of the 45-degree angle beam was, and I just went to the miter saw and just cut that. And I made this whole thing out of all oak. So some of it's white oak, some of it's red oak. It's mainly red oak, but it turned out really great. So what I did, I just took this 45-degree angle piece, basically the support, put some wood glue on the bottom, drilled a pilot hole, and then just hid in a little finish nail. I did one on the top and then one through the bottom. And since I couldn't get the finish nail all the way in, I used the center punch to just put it on the head of the nail and hit it all the way in. Then I just flipped the thing over, drilled another hole for another nail, and then just hit it in so each support had 2 nails on it. Now it's nice and strong. So did the same exact process for the other side. And I will say this turned out really nicely, and they're super strong. And this drill bit's a 1/16 inch drill bit. And the finish nails are 1 inch long. Now I just hit in the last nail. So you can see I just did those 2 sides, and I already did the other 2 sides earlier. So then I just took a rag that had some water on it. It was just a damp rag, and I just wiped up the excess glue that got squeezed out, and it took it right off. And then just to put the main beams in, I wanted them to be flush with the board, so I was gonna make kind of a dado or a groove that the main arm would just sit in. So I just took it, put it on the board, the main base, and then just sketched around it, so then I would chisel that part out. So now I just took some chisels, scribed the line that I used on the pencil, and then just started chiseling out that little rectangle. And so that I don't want to have to chisel out the whole entire thing, I used a Forstner bit, just so it'd take out most of the material. Hope you guys like the music. I made it. There's this app that you can make music on. I'll put a link in the description if you want to get the app to make the music. Really cool app. So then I just finished that notch. And now you can see that the main beam just sits right into that notch. And it's flush with the surface of the base. The reason why I did that is because it made it way stronger and made it look a lot better. So I did the same thing for the other side. And now I just had to attach those main beams to the base. So to do that, I used some wood glue and 3 finish nails. So I just put some wood glue into the crack and then took a drill bit and just drilled 2 holes on the outside and 1 hole on the inside and put the same finish nails I used for the main supports, and I just nailed 3 of those in on each side. Did 1 more in the center. So now that the beam is very strong. And I repeated the same exact process for the other side. So basically this trebuchet, the base and the frame and everything, it's going to be basically symmetrical. So each side is going to be the same, so I am repeating the same process for each side. So I'm doing one side, repeating that same exact process to basically make a mirror image of one side. So now you can see it's the same exact as the other side. So then, that's very strong, but I needed to attach the support arms to the main beam. So I just put some wood glue and then just drilled a pilot hole through the main support on the 45-degree angle and through the main beam just to hold it together so the glue would dry and make it really strong. And it did that for the other 3 sides. And as you can see, the nail sticking out a little bit. It doesn't matter because I'm going to be sanding that, and I'll make that smooth and flush with the wood. And now you can see I did that for each of the 4 sides. So now that they're very strong. And it just has a little bit of play in it, but the main rod will go through there and it will hold it so it'll be very rigid. And then I just took a palm sander with 150 grit sandpaper on it and just sanded the whole entire thing just so I could sand down those heads of the nails and just make all the corners nice and smooth so they'd be nice and beveled. And it is a really good tip to just get a wet, damp rag and just wipe off any of the excess glue because tight bond comes off with water. Now the frame is complete. So then I needed to make the arm that would launch everything. So I just took this piece of oak, I put it in between the blade and the fence widthways so that when I cut it I would have a perfect square long beam. So basically I just cut it in the table saw, and now you can see I have just basically a square piece of oak dowel. And once that was done, I just cut it on the miter saw to the length I thought it needed to be. Then I was just holding in my hands and thinking of where the pivot point should be. So the pivot point is where the rod would be in the arm, and that's where the whole thing would rock. So I just kind of guessed where I wanted it, because I was holding it with my fingers, and I just marked a little spot. And I had these RC bearings. They're from an RC trucks. So I used them just because I had them, and I thought it would make it nicer and it would rock better. So I don't really know exactly what size they were, but the rod that I was using was 3/16 inch. So I looked through my drill bits. These are kind of odd size drill bits, and I found a size that I thought fit. I think it was like 17/64 or some weird size drill bit. So I just started with pre-drilling a hole through the main arm, and then I started drilling just free-handed with this, but then I was thinking I wanted this hole to be exactly centered, so I just went to the drill press and drilled all the way through. So now you can see that's drilled, and I already hit one bearing in, so I just hit the other one in, and they fit perfectly. And there's no glue needed because there's such a nice tight fit. And now you can see that my rod fits perfectly in it and it goes around really nicely. So then the next thing I needed to do was just to drill the holes in the main arms to hold the rod. So I was just measuring where I thought the rod needed to be. I used a 3/16 inch drill bit for this, and I measured from the top of the main beam an inch down and put a little mark. So that's where I thought the metal rod should be. Then I just went lengthways and marked halfway in between the main beam so that I had a center point. So once I had that center point, I just took a scribe and marked a little tiny point on that. Used a 1/16 inch drill bit and just drilled a pilot hole through. And again, since I wanted this hole to be perfectly straight into it, I put this on the drill press and just drilled all the way through with a 3/16 inch drill bit. And now you can see the rod's a nice tight fit. And this is exactly how I wanted it to be. So I had to put it on the edge of the table because it was kind of bent. I just went through one side and went through the other side too. Now you can see the arm flows really nicely. So then the next step was to make a sled. So I just took this piece of oak that was about a 1.5 inches wide and about a 1/2 inch thick, and I just measured the same length of the base. And then I went over to the router table and just used a roundover bit and just rounded over all of the edges on that piece of oak. So I used a 1/2 inch dado bit, and I just wanted to make a slot in the middle of this piece of oak. So I just made a shallow little trench and then just kept on going to make it thicker and thicker until I had the right amount of thickness that I wanted this trench to be. So this was going to be for the pouch to slide on so that the ammo would be in the pouch and it would just make it slide really nicely on this. And as you can see, I kind of messed up on the end because the router bit kind of messed up. But it was okay because that piece needed to be cut off so it would be the same length as the base. So then I just measured the exact center of the base so that this piece of oak would just sit right on there, the sled. So I just wiped on some wood glue, used a silicone brush, which was really handy. Set it right in between those points and then used a pin nailer and just pin nailed that on temporarily so that it would dry. So then I just had to make the pouch. This pouch was going to hold all the ammo and it was going to be launched by the arm and some strings. So this was really important. So for this pouch, I just used some water buffalo leather that we had laying around in the shop, and I cut a piece that was about 3 inches wide by 4 inches long, and I used this center punch that made about a 1/4 inch hole, and I just punched 6 holes long and made 5 rows of 6 holes so that I had 30 holes in this pouch. And these holes were going to be so it'd be more aerodynamic and that this pouch could be more flexible, basically. So now you can see those are all those holes. And then just so that I would make some loops that the string could hold on, I just folded over the leather and cut out some more holes so that the string could hold on. So now I use this 220 paracord, and as you can see, there's this pouch off the internet, and it has these loops of this string, and I'm using paracord for this. So I just looped one string on one end and then another string on the other end later. So this first string was going to be permanently attached to the arm, the slinging arm. So basically what I'm doing right now is measuring how long the paracord should be. So you want the paracord to be the same length as the tip of the arm to the center of your pivoting point, which is where the metal rod is. So I wanted the tip of the paracord to be touching the end of the arm and come down to the center point of the rod. And as you can see, the top string on that picture on the bottom left is going to be attached to the arm. Then the one on the bottom of the pouch is going to be on a pin that releases the string. So to attach the paracord, I just used some little U-nails. So I just put the U-nails in and put the paracord on the bottom of the arm. slid it in, hit the U-nail in, and I put a second one just so that it would hold extra good. So now you can see I have the top string done, and then I'm putting on the second string. And this string was going to be about the same length, but it's going to have a slip knot at the end. And this slip knot is just basically going to be a loop. So there's going to be a nail at the end of the arm, in the very end, and it's going to be the release mechanism. So as you can see on the left, the string is going to loop around the nail, and when it launches, it's going to come off of that, and the pouch will open and launch your ammo. So that's what I'm making right now. Sorry if you can't really see it that great, but that's what I made right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you liked this video. And just to recap everything, the things I made in this part 1 of 3 videos are the pouches and ropes, main arm, frame, and the sled. So it's all made out of hard oak wood. And this is part 1 of 3. As I was saying, there's going to be 3 parts. And I just want to say about the giveaway, there's going to be 3 things I'm giving away. I'm giving away a fidget spinner, a drum pad, and some kind of finger skateboard thing. So in the comments below, tell me what kind of finger skateboard thing you want me to be giving away. And in the next part, the second part of this series, I'm gonna be making the trigger and the counterweight. So the counterweight is just basically a basket, and the trigger is gonna be what's launching the whole thing. And in the third part, I'm gonna be testing the whole thing. So thanks for watching. See you on the next video.